What is going on, guys? Dan from DNR Sports here. Today, we're going to be looking at the top 6 running backs of this year's 2021 draft class. So let's just get right into it. We need to get one thing out of the way. One thing that is extremely important that nobody seems to understand. Derrick Henry is not a top 6 running back when it comes to fantasy football. I know, very shocking, right? But when it comes down to raw projections with no injuries factored in, pass catching running backs are 10 out of 10 times better. Got a damn itch on my ear. 10 out of 10 times better than a bulldozer like Henry, Chubb, Jonathan Taylor, Cam Akers, Gibson. Like, they're all useless. Do we not understand how important pass catching is? Get this. I have Nick Chubb projected for 28 receptions next year. I have Eckler projected for 92 receptions next year. That is about a 700-yard difference. Do we really think Nick Chubb will have 700 more all-purpose yards than Eckler? I don't. Do you? I have Eckler rushing for 720 yards. Nick Chubb rushing for 1440 yards. So yes, he'll be 700 above there. But then receiving yards, I have Eckler for 993 with 235 yards for Chubb. So he beats him by 700 there. So when it all equals out, he's getting the same amount of yards with 700 more yards basically from the catches. Chubb I have with a slight edge on TDs, but this reception crap is just insane. As we all know, Derrick Henry finished with 2K yards and 17 touchdowns last season. That sounds great and all, right? That's amazing. Whoop-de-doo. Alvin Kamara finished with 60 more full PPR points. That's embarrassing. Like, to have the best possible year that Derrick Henry can have and not even be the best running back, that's sad. Dalvin Cook's better, CMC's better. Like, all these pass catchers are better. And let's take into account Zeke had a messed up O-line, messed up quarterback. He didn't have a full opportunity share. Barkley injured. Kamara even crushed him. Has still had Taysom Hill at helm for a lot of it, right? CMC missed the entire year, right? Eckler missed most of the year. Cam Akers didn't really have a starting job until the end. So all these guys, same with Jonathan Taylor, wasn't even a starter until like halfway through the season, really. All these guys are healthy now, right? Derrick Henry doesn't have this just very easy running back pool to just smother. So let's just get right into it. Number one is obviously CMC. This is just like a no-brainer. When we look at like pass-catching running backs, him and Eckler are at the pinnacle. So he gets about 600 to 1,000 yards receiving every year. Last year was on pace for some ridiculous numbers in 3 games. Actually, sorry, in 2 games because he left halfway through 2 different games. In 2 games, look at this. 225 rushing yards, 5 TDs on the ground, 1 TD through the air with 149 yards and 17 receptions. This guy's insane. His record year, almost 1,400 yards, 15 TDs, 1,000 yards through the air, 4 more TDs with 116 receptions. CMC, in my projections, is so far and above everybody else. Let me read this to you. My projection line for him, 1,376 yards, 13 TDs, 920 receiving yards, 110 receptions, 4.5 TDs. So I have slight decreases from his insane year, and he still projects for 444.6 full PPR points. That is, I think, let me check, about 70 points above my number 2. About 70 points above my number 2. Having the number 1 pick in next year's draft is just the biggest plus EV advantage you could ever have. CMC is by far and away better than everybody. And it's solely because he just catches way more passes than everybody and will crush Eckler on the goal line. That's the difference between him and Eckler. Eckler would be the RB1 if he had some goal line touches, but it's nowhere near what CMC has. Next up, also, I just want to mention real quick, CMC, even last year before he got injured, 26.5 touches a game. 26.5. That's with leaving two games early. He's going to be getting almost 30 touches a game. This is a no-brainer, obvious number 1. My number 2, let's just make this clear. These projections are strictly, I know you guys are going to be like, what the hell? Saquon Barkley, guys, these projections are strictly based on if everyone is healthy for the entire year. I'm not here to play the injury game and predict injuries. I know Saquon's coming off an ACL. I know that's tough. I saw him doing some work in the sand. He looked good. I saw him with some practice reports saying he looks really good, but he's uncertain if he'll play week 1. Like, this is with the prediction that he plays the full season without the Giants limiting him. Okay, so He's another one of those insane receivers. His rookie year, 121 targets, 91 receptions, 721 yards through the air, 4 TDs through the air. He also had 1,300 yards with 11 TDs. This is his rookie year as a rookie, playing 3 games less. He broke 1,000 the next year, and this was the year when he had the ankle injury the entire year, or for about like 8 games of it, and then he came out of it afterwards a lot better. He hasn't had an actual like full healthy season since his rookie year. And assuming he does have a healthy season, I'm sorry, but that's how you play fantasy. You don't assume people get injured. You assume they have the full healthy year. Like when you're drafting these first like 5 picks, you're looking for a ceiling. Derrick Henry, Nick Chubb, Jonathan Taylor, Cam Akers, there's no ceiling. There's top 5-ish, maybe just because of injuries, but if everybody else stays healthy, they are not top 5 running backs. That is facts. Anyways, Saquon, let me give you my projections on him. I have Saquon going for 1,320 yards on the ground, 10.5 TDs, 711 yards on the ground, or through the air, 87 receptions, 3 touchdowns through the air. That's 371.1 points. As I said, like about 73-ish, 73.5-ish points behind CMC. It's ridiculous, the drop-off. If you have CMC, OP. Next up, once again, you guys are going to be like, wow, where's Dalvin Cook? It's one of those things, guys. Dalvin Cook is not a pass catcher like you think he is. We'll get into that in a sec. It's Alvin Kamara. So, Alvin Kamara, we all know this 81, 81, 81, 83 receptions. This 83 receptions was last year when Drew Brees wasn't even playing most of the year. So, clearly Kamara is still getting the targets he needs, about 100 a year. He gets about 700 to 800 yards through the air with about 4 to 5 TDs. On the ground, he's one of those guys that's just going to smack in a bunch of TDs when he's healthy. He wasn't healthy all 2019, and he wasn't a starter all of 2017, but in his 2 healthy starting years, 14 and 16 TDs on the ground. He hasn't broken a K yards yet, like 1,000 yards, which is why he's not CMC level or Saquon level, just because he doesn't have that rushing yardage. He doesn't get the touches. When Kamara gets about 20-ish touches, you're happy. When CMC gets about 20-ish touches, you're like, CMC's projection is about like 6 to 8 more touches a game than Kamara is. Kamara's uber efficient, and most of them are pass-catching touches, but he doesn't have the raw upside that Saquon or CMC have. He may be in a better system. Saquon might get all messed up again. Who knows? Kamara's definitely a safer pick than Saquon. I actually would draft him over Saquon, but I'm giving you the raw projection who is the best running back. So, now my projection for him next year, I have him 896 on the ground, so a little under 900 on the ground. I have 14 TDs. I think he's not going to fall off in the TD department. Even with Taysom there, I think he'll get a lot of the goal line touches. I think he'll lose maybe like 2 or 3 to Michael Thomas, because I think Michael Thomas is going to have some positive regression for sure. 800 yards through the air, 790 to be exact. 83 receptions and 4.5 touchdowns for a grand total of 362.6 full PPR points. That is about 8.5 behind Saquon Barkley. The next person on the list, yes, is Dalvin Cook. Now, let's delve into Dalvin Cook. Dalvin Cook does not have the catching prowess that a lot of us imagine he does. He's had 11, 40, 53, and 44 receptions. Once again, our worst pass catcher on the list so far, I guess, was Kamara at 83 receptions. That's 300 to 400 more yards that Cook has to put up to even compete with him. So Cook last year obviously had a ton of yards, almost 1,600, 16 TDs. Pass catching let down, 361 yards through the air, only 1 TD through the air. He has no upside when it comes to catching TDs. My projection on him is 1,500 yards exactly, 14 TDs, 50 receptions, 2 TDs through the air, and 380 yards through the air, which is a grand total of 334 points. That is about 28 points behind Kamara. So yes, Cook, we can't even really say Cook is less injury prone than like CMC or Saquon. Like Saquon's injury was an ACL. Like how do you don't just predict that your knees aren't just not like, you know what I mean? That's just stuff that happens in football. CMC had a high ankle sprain and then got busted in the ribs on a play that I actually watched. He just got nailed like really hard, pretty much, and just hurt it. He hurt his like collarbone, I think it was. Stuff that you can't, like, it's not like injury prone, right? Dalvin Cook has had like hamstring issues. That's an injury prone thing where he just has like those slight tissue issues. Where also, what am I saying? Dalvin Cook has also torn his ACL. So and we saw the next year he was fine. So I'm not really putting too much emphasis on injuries in these first 5 picks. I want straight upside and not playing it safe at all, and going for like a Henry who really doesn't get injured. Right, I'm just assuming nobody gets injured. So now my 5th overall running back is Zeke by like a absolute hair over number 6. I love Zeke this year. I think we've all heard it. Everyone's talking about it. Ezekiel Elliott. We all want him to return to these days, right? The 1,600 yards, 15 TDs. Not this reception total. These reception totals, 77, 54, 52. Zeke is actually on pace for some Kamara type numbers when Dak is in the lineup. This 52 is with a bunch of crap, crap quarterbacks and crap O linemen, right? He's going to get about 70-ish catches next year, which puts him in that elite catching category. TDs on it about 2-ish, 2 to 3 to 1, somewhere in there. But I think he still managed almost 1,000 rushing yards last year with absolutely no help. Absolutely no help. This year, with Dak, we see the only other season he didn't get 1,000 yards was because he only played 10 games and he was 17 yards off. This man is a freak of nature who they will give the ball to. He didn't go down. These touches didn't go down because he's bad, right? It's not because Tony Pollard's amazing. It's because they just couldn't do anything and convert drives or anything. Their drives are shorter, less total touches to go around, less goal line touches. But I expect him to return to peak Zeke form. I know everyone thinks he's a fat ass now and he can't do anything, but I honestly have a lot of faith in Zeke coming in this year. So 1,357 yards. I could see that being a lot higher, to be honest. I really could. But I'm just so intent on this Dak pass-happy offense where they're going to have to play from behind a decent bit because that defense sucks. Where I think his strengths will be more suited in the pass catching role that he's been serving recently. Had a cough there. So I have him for 1,357. Wouldn't be surprised if it's over 1,500 if Dax slows it down a little bit. 11.5 TDs through the ground, 460 yards through the air, 64 receptions, and 2 TDs through the air for a grand total of 326.7 full point PPR points. That's about 8 behind Dalvin Cook. I honestly wouldn't be mad at you if you took Zeke like top 3. 3rd overall, I've been very tempted to do that in multiple drafts. I'd always take Kamara at 3rd overall. But Zeke, I would not be surprised if some people started taking him there. So the last person on this list, I kept mentioning him before, Eckler. Eckler is an absolute unit when he's pass catching. So last year, he only played 10 games. He had 54 receptions. We saw there was a game where Justin Herbert targeted him 16 times in one game. Let's go look at that. 16 times in one game. Where's his targets? 16! And earlier in that season, when Herbert finally started like getting used to the system, 11, 16, 9, 9, 4, 3, 7. This man will get 90 catches this year. I have full faith in that. I think he'll approach 1,000 yards this season. And I think he'll be one of those running backs where in half PPR and standard leagues, you just think of Eckler and it like hurts your soul to kind of grab him because you're like, it's half PPR, especially standard. But if it's half PPR, like I don't know about his goal line upside. Here's the thing: Eckler doesn't have goal line upside. He does not have goal line upside. I can't lie to you guys. It's bad. His yards in the rushing game have never exceeded 600 yards. That's not good. His TDs in the rushing side have never exceeded 3. That's scary. His receiving TDs, his maximum has been 8. I think there will be some leveling out there. My projection for him is 720 rushing yards. I think he gets about 200. I guess that's about 150 more than he's gotten in previous seasons. I do believe this is Eckler's backfield. No more fat ass Kalen Ballage or Josh Kelly. I think he has 4.5 TDs in the ground. That's obviously not great. Like, if he outdoes my projection, he will be the RB1 or RB2, right behind CMC. But I just have a low TD projection on him, which is the only thing hindering him. 993 receiving yards. I have him as the most receiving yards in the league for running backs. 92 receptions and 6 TDs through the air. let's get used to it, guys. Let's get used to drafting these pass-catching running backs over these fat Derrick Henrys, fat Nick Chubb. I'm sorry, these are all great running backs. They're better running backs than any of the guys I mentioned, but that's just not how you win fantasy leagues anymore. You need raw upside, and they do not have that raw potential 400-point type upside that these other pass-catching running backs do. So, in conclusion, draft your pass catchers, boys. Draft them early and often. I just want to say a quick note. Do not mess with this tier. This is the actual bonus that I have for you. Do not mess with Gibson, Alaire, Dobbins, Montgomery, Swift. Those 5, Jacobs, I don't mind Sanders and Carson because they're falling pretty far. But these 5 right here, this is the most dead zone I've ever seen in my life. No pass catching upside at all. They're just bulldozers that are getting drafted way too high. Antonio Gibson on underdog is ADP is ahead of Devontae Adams. I don't care what you think the situation is for Devontae Adams. Do not be drafting Antonio Gibson over him. But that ends my rant. I'm sorry for even going on that tangent. I just want you guys to pick a stud running back in the first 5 to 6 picks. Sometimes Saquon and Zeke fall pretty far, so maybe you can get them at the 8 or 9. But make sure you get one of them, and if the last resort is Eckler, grab him. And after that, you got to be going receiver. I don't think you should be going the running back with your second pick unless you have like the 12 or 11 pick. But yeah, guys, that's going to do it. If you liked the video, leave a like. Subscribe if you're new around here. Drop a comment. I'm sure you guys are going to be like, Derrick Henry, Derrick Henry, Derrick Henry. I just don't care. Derrick Henry does not have the upside. Get it through your damn head. He has to rush for 3,000 yards if he wants to beat Kamara. You know what I mean? So anyways, that's going to do it. Turn post notifications on if you're new around here, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace.
Can never ever find the right words, and there's no way this is real life. There's no telling you're the right girl, so I can only say that it feels right.